This is Father Andrew Ritchie, and you're listening to Catholic Inspiration, a podcast from my website at studyprayserve.com. These homilies, presentations, and retreats form part of my ministry as a Catholic priest for the Diocese of Superior. And now I invite you to open your hearts to some Catholic inspiration. Today is Thursday of the third week of Advent. Our responsorial psalm is taken from Psalm 72, and the response, "Justice shall flourish in his time, and fullness of peace forever. O God, with your judgment endow the king, with your justice the king's son. He shall govern your people with justice, and your afflicted ones with judgment. For he shall rescue the poor when he cries out, and the afflicted when he has no one to help him. He shall have pity for the lowly and the poor. The lives of the poor he will save. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who alone does wondrous deeds. And blessed forever be his glorious name. May the whole earth be filled with his glory. Justice shall flourish in his time, and fullness of peace forever." It's interesting how, as we're gearing up for the birth of the Messiah, who will usher in a time of justice and peace, we look to this psalm, which really sets the stage for it, which gives us that part of the promise of salvation history. What happens when God's kingdom is established and that the king is ruling in God's name with authority, bringing justice. Justice here to right wrongs, to give people what is their due. So if people have been afflicted, they will have a sense here of what is restored to them. If someone is being governed, they're being governed with wisdom and prudence. That when people are poor, they will be rescued. Afflicted, they will have help. And when they are really struggling, they will look to the one who gazes upon them with pity and understanding. This sense here of justice, that whatever has been off track will be restored to right order. What a compelling thing to know that wrongs will be righted. There's another side to it, though, this sense of peace. The tranquility, the calm, the steadiness, that deep conviction, right? That things are on an even keel, that we're moving in the right direction and there isn't unwanted distraction or distress. That calm security that says we can move forward. We can move decisively, but we move in a manner where all of the relationships are in their proper order. We have peace with one another. Get this now, that peace has to start in our own hearts. Are we tranquil in our souls? Or are we all stirred up and agitated? God's reign introduces a kind of heavenly peace. The calm that soothes us from the inside out and thus allows us to enter into relationships with God and one another that have that same steadying, calming, peaceful sensibility. Friends, I want that for all of us. To know that we are in a situation where there is justice, to know that we are in a context where peace reigns in our hearts and our lives, that sounds pretty good. But then that reminds us then, how are we working to extend God's justice and God's peace right now as active agents who seek the kingdom of heaven and strive to live for the kingdom of heaven? How are we supporting justice? How are we fostering peace? When you take justice here, then how are we standing up when things are out of whack, out of order, out of alignment? How do we stand up when something is fundamentally wrong and say, stop, enough? Even if it means that we will be in an awkward situation, even if it means we will be mocked or ridiculed or attacked. Will we stand and protect those who have no one to protect them? Will we stand and allow words and actions to show that we believe in what is true and good and holy? And we'll live that consistently and steadily. Peace here for us means, are we seeking peace in our lives and in our interactions with others? Or are we causing all sorts of distraction and disturbance to well up in us? It's interesting, isn't it? We can either contribute towards peace or we can contribute towards destruction by what we say and do. And so when we look at these words, to know that God's reign will establish justice and peace, that's great. But we know that God's victory has been won through Jesus. And so, friends, it's time for us to start living that reality here and now, in preparation for the day when it will be in its fullness bestowed upon us in the kingdom of heaven. We live in a manner that builds up justice and fosters peace. But we do so with God's help. And friends, we don't do this on our own, but rather in our daily prayer to ask the Lord for the strength we need to carry these out. And then to be vigilant in looking for ways in which we can foster justice and peace in our lives and in the relationships that are around us. When we do that and then take that back to our prayer, we create this positive loop, a cycle whereby we pray for these things, seek to carry them out, and then pray for those who are struggling to find justice and peace in their lives. That we will constantly be calling upon help from heaven to foster justice and peace here on earth, until the day that God calls us all to heaven, where we will stand before the one who is the source of all justice and peace. God bless you all. This is Father Andrew, and I hope this podcast inspires your faith. Now, if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend, and you can help me by leaving a rating and a review. I keep all my listeners in my daily prayers, and I ask for your prayers in return. God bless you, my friends.